The MCU is full of powerful characters, but some of the most fascinating ones aren't gods, super soldiers, or billionaires in suits. They're the ones caught in between. Part human, part something the universe never intended to exist, and what makes them so compelling isn't just their powers. It's the question of what they actually are, because some of these hybrids were born into it, some had it forced on them, and some literally chose to rewrite their own DNA. Some gained abilities that could level armies, and some lost far more than they gained. So which hybrid ended up the most powerful in the entire MCU, and which one had all the potential in the world and got completely wasted? Peter Quill. When you think of alien-human hybrids in the MCU, Peter Quill is the absolute blueprint. His entire existence changes the day he learns that he is actually a half-human, half-celestial hybrid. It was one of the biggest twists in the MCU for me personally. I never saw it coming, but I'm also not really too familiar with the comics. I am pretty familiar with his run in the movies though, and for the majority of the first Guardians of the Galaxy, Peter is presented as a scrappy regular human who just happens to be good at surviving in deep space. But the entire climax of that movie hinges on a massive reveal that nobody clocked at first. Peter was actually able to physically grab the Power Stone. Mind you, even a Celestial was using that stone by channeling its power through a weapon. Okay, to be fair, he was in extreme pain, and I'm pretty sure his body was about to combust before he grabbed everyone's hand, but I think holding out as long as he did was insane nonetheless. Sure, you can say that the writers just hadn't thought about it yet, but I also find that hard to believe in a franchise that is known for its foreshadowing. Plus, the ultimate cliffhanger was the Nova Corps running a test on his DNA, confirming that his mother was human, but they had no idea what his father was.
You're half Terran. Your mother was of Earth. Your father, well, he's something very ancient we've never seen here before.
That brings us to Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, which fully unpacks his hybrid status. Because his father, Ego, learned to manipulate matter molecule by molecule and eventually grew to be, well, a living planet, Peter also inherited those abilities. During the final battle of the film, when Peter fully connects to the core to fight back, he repeatedly manipulates the physical matter of the planet itself. He creates giant stone fists, propels himself through the air, and cements himself in my personal Hall of Fame by creating an actual stone Pac-Man to crush Ego's avatar. Peter could have been a literal demigod if he retained those powers, and I for one think that Infinity War would have gone down a lot differently if he had the time to gain some real control over his abilities. Ego alone was taking out fleets of sovereign ships like they were nothing. At the very least, he could have leveled a chunk of his army. But the MCU delivered a brilliant tragic twist to his story. The moment Peter kills Ego to save the galaxy, he severs his connection to the celestial light. He actively chooses to sacrifice his godhood, rendering himself a fragile, functionally normal human being for the rest of his life. You know, like any other guy from Missouri. If you look at Earth 616 comic book lore, his hybrid status is fundamentally different, and honestly, vastly less powerful. In the classic comics, Peter has absolutely zero connection to Ego the Living Planet. Instead, his father is Jason of Spartax, the ruthless emperor of the Spartoi Empire. This makes comic book Peter half human and half Spartoi. The Spartoi are essentially spacefaring humanoids. They don't have godlike cosmic abilities, they can't manipulate matter, and they definitely can't hold Infinity Stones barehanded. What his Spartoi DNA does give him is peak physiological enhancement. He ages significantly slower than a normal human, possesses enhanced strength and stamina, and has a biological aptitude for absorbing complex alien languages and piloting advanced spacecraft. So why did the MCU change his DNA so drastically? It ultimately comes down to cinematic stakes. The comic version of Peter Quill is tied heavily to galactic political drama and the royal lineage of the Spartoi Empire. But James Gunn and Kevin Feige needed Peter to fit into the Infinity Saga. By changing his father from a space politician to a literal cosmic god, they elevated Peter from a royal bastard to a cosmic one, I guess. And personally, I think it worked out better for him. Gaia. Now, does Gaia actually count as a human-alien hybrid? By birth, absolutely not. She is 100% Skrull. But when she stepped into the Super Skrull machine and absorbed the harvest, her genetic code was permanently spliced with the DNA of Captain America, the Winter Soldier, and the Hulk. She is an alien who essentially forcefully injected human biology into her own bloodstream to become a walking genetic chimera. On the alien and cosmic side, she integrated the DNA of Thanos, Cull Obsidian, Mantis, Drax, Groot, and even Captain Marvel. So yeah, I think she is as much of a hybrid as anyone else that you can think of really. When we first meet her, Gaia is introduced as the daughter of Talos, one of the few Skrulls who genuinely believed humans and Skrulls could peacefully coexist. But unlike her father, Gaia grew up watching promise after promise get broken. Nick Fury never found the Skrulls a new home, generations of refugees were stuck hiding on Earth, and eventually, that disappointment turned into anger. That's what pushes her toward Gravik and his extremist Skrull rebellion. By the finale, though, she's a cocktail of Earth's mightiest superpowers, Ghost's phasing, Captain Marvel's energy powers, and even Extremis healing. She's less of a traditional hybrid and more like a genetic patchwork made from years of MCU history. But I guess it's kind of in line, right? What are the Skrulls really known for at the end of the day? Turning into whoever they want, whenever they want. And now, Gaia's taken it even a step further. And if you're thinking, does this make her the strongest Marvel character? In all honesty, she's definitely in the conversation. But despite such an epic story, a power set that seems ripped from fan fiction, and a potential claimant to the heavyweight championship title across Marvel, nobody knows who Gaia is. And you only have Secret Invasion to thank for that. I know there are many Gaia haters out there, and I'm sure a lot of you guys are pretty opinionated about her too, but I think there was a lot of potential here, and it sucks that it got wasted on one of the worst MCU shows ever. Captain Marvel. Carol Danvers is one of the most unique alien-human hybrids in the MCU because unlike most characters on this list, her transformation happens completely by accident. She wasn't born different, experimented on, or rebuilt with machinery. She was just a human pilot who got caught in the middle of an alien technology powerful enough to rewrite her entire biology. Her hybrid nature starts when she's exposed to the energy of the Light-Speed Engine, a machine powered by the Tesseract. Now, most people would have been vaporized instantly, but somehow, Carol survives this. The blast left her changed forever though, giving her cosmic abilities strong enough to rival an entire army on her own, and I mean that literally. Before becoming Captain Marvel, Carol was already fearless. She was one of the best pilots in the Air Force, constantly pushing herself in environments where people doubted her ability to keep up. That stubbornness is honestly what makes her transformation work so well, because once she gains power, it doesn't suddenly change her or give her a newfound sense of heroism, it just makes her an already competent soldier 10 times more dangerous. Ironically enough, that's kind of why the Kree kidnapped her, erased her memory, rebuilt her identity from scratch, brainwashed her into believing she's one of them, the whole 9 yards basically. Plus, she was made to believe any sign of her humanity was essentially weakness, so Carol spends much of her character arc trapped between 2 identities, the human she is and the Kree she's been tricked into thinking she is. Before you guys get at me, I know she has Kree blood in her, but she's still been tricked into thinking she's culturally, socially, and spiritually a Kree. Which just isn't true. But hey, at least she has something in common with Phil Coulson. I wonder if they will ever tie that little potential plot point up in a neat little scene. For those of you who don't know technically, Coulson's a hybrid too. After Loki killed him in Avengers, Fury resurrected Coulson using Project Tahiti, which was basically using the blood of an ancient dead Kree for medical purposes.
Hey guys.
That's why the moment she removes the Kree chip is so important. It isn't just a power-up scene, it's Carol finally realizing she was never given her strength by the Kree in the first place. The energy came from the explosion, but the courage, resilience, and determination were always hers. Those aspects of her were fragments of her humanity. Skaar. While the movies have not officially dropped his mother's name yet, his origins are directly tied to the 2 years that Bruce spent trapped, both as the Hulk and as well, I'd say prisoner, but the guy was really happy on Sakaaran. Happy enough that he went back and had a kid. See, Skaar didn't just inherit regular human DNA from Bruce Banner, he inherited the gamma mutation too. Fun fact, he is also the only organic Hulk in the entire MCU. What do I mean? Before Skaar, every single Hulk in the cinematic universe was created artificially. Bruce was mutated by a lab accident, the Abomination was a forced science experiment, and Jennifer Walters was transformed via a cross-contaminated blood transfusion. Skaar changes the lore entirely. He is the first character in the MCU to be born with the Hulk physiology permanently woven into his DNA. He gets it from his dad. Sorry for that, it was really bad. In the comics though, his Sakaaran heritage is equally important. His mother is Kyra the Oldstrong, a powerful alien warrior who harnesses a planetary energy called the Old Power. The Sakaaran environment is incredibly brutal, meaning his alien DNA naturally possesses accelerated growth, intense survival instincts, and immense durability, perfectly complementing the radioactive power of his human side. Even the war paint and tattoos that he sports in his brief cameo are a direct nod to his extraterrestrial gladiator roots. I really think that there's a lot of potential for some exciting storylines thanks to the introduction of Skaar though. We could even see some World War Hulk stuff if they play it right. If something were to happen to his always hulked out son, especially after Hulk publicly caused a global incident recently, and the world has been cracking down on superheroes and vigilantes lately, do you see where I'm going with this? Kamala Khan. The thing about Kamala is, it's kinda hard to explain her. At first, Kamala seems like the most normal person on this list. She is a superhero fangirl from Jersey City obsessed with the Avengers, especially Captain Marvel. She writes fan fiction, sneaks out to AvengerCon, argues with her parents, and feels stuck between different versions of her identity. At school, she's trying to fit in socially. At home, she's balancing family expectations and culture. And deep down, she's constantly wondering where she actually belongs. In the comic books, her origin was straightforward. She was an Inhuman. She walked into a cloud of Terrigen mist and got stretchy powers. Done. But the MCU clearly wanted nothing to do with the baggage of the Inhumans TV show. They needed a new origin for their newest star, so they opened up her genetic code and basically used it as a dumping ground for every major franchise pivot that they were trying to set up. Let's get a bird's eye view. She's a normal human teenager from New Jersey, but her great-grandmother was a Clandestine, a race of beings who were exiled from the Noor Dimension for reasons? This basically makes her part Jinn. She also has to wear an ancient artifact just to unlock the dormant abilities of her special, unique ancestry. Also, none of that might even be true anymore. The real whiplash happens in the final 5 minutes of Ms. Marvel. Her best friend Bruno looks at her genetic sequence on a laptop and drops a casual bomb. Her DNA has a mutation, followed by the classic animated X-Men theme blaring over the soundtrack.
Like a mutation.
Is she descended from a line of cosmic beings? Is she a mutant? Nobody knows. And personally, I think even Marvel doesn't. She has some really serious hard light powers, which basically is what it sounds like. She can turn light into constructs. Think Green Lantern, but a lot more limited. That guy can make tanks. Anyway, Kamala's actually pretty powerful too. By using that bangle to tap into her interdimensional Noor energy, she can do things like manifesting giant glowing Donkey Kong fists to punch through swaths of men, project massive shields, and literally build stepping stones mid-air to walk on. Of course, there's the flying too. Can't ever forget that. Okay, so some of these guys aren't exactly the most popular. I know that there aren't many Gaia or Kamala fans out there, and that's okay. I'm not really lining up in stores to get their merch or comics either, and I'll probably miss whatever movie Kamala's in next, but it's still a little corner of the MCU that is pretty interesting. I mean, the potential of someone who has Cap's battle IQ and Hulk's strength and another dimension is always something to look forward to. Maybe a bit heavy on the optimism, but you get what I mean, right? I do appreciate how Marvel tries to weave in their dual DNA into their storylines and character arcs though. It's always nice when this stuff is a bit more than just an excuse for flashy powers. But now, the all-important question, does anyone here actually take the Hulk in a serious fight?